you guys are in for a treat because today's podcast is with one of my favorite human beings of all time, Kirt Contois. Kirt is the kind of the face of my favorite place in the world, and that's the Assiniboia Downs Gaming Center and Racetrack. Assiniboia Downs is a place I've been going since I was a little kid. It's where my parents race horses, and Kirt is the assistant race secretary and the track announcer. And Kirt has been around horse racing his whole life, so throughout this podcast, we talk about what horse racing is all about, what Assiniboia Downs is all about, and kind of how he found his niche in horse racing. It's one of my favorite podcasts. But before we get to Mr. Kirt, we have to talk about my guy, Nick Tantillo at Tantillo Productions. Are you looking to start a podcast? Have some questions about kind of getting your feet wet in the podcasting world, or are you just looking to edit some great videos? Nick Tantillo is your guy. Tantillo Productions is known around the United States for helping out people start a podcast or let them find a niche in the video world. You can find Nick at Tantillo, Tantillo Productions, Productions. That's at Tantillo Productions on Instagram, or just plain old TantilloProductions.com. My second sponsor is the legendary Phil Wright with Guild Mortgage. With rates being as low as they are, now is a great time to start investing in your future, either with a new home or lowering the monthly payment you currently have. Reach out to Phil and his team anytime. You can find their information online simply by Googling Phil, Phil, Wright, Wright, Guild, Guild, Mortgage. All right, that's it. Now we're going to listen to Kirt. And also, if you or anybody that's listening to the podcast is a fan and want to become a sponsor, please reach out to me, Dallas Hansen. All right, here we go with Kirt Contois.
Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
Kirt, we're coming off of what could be possibly the biggest day of ASD racing. How does it feel to have a very big contributing factor in the Manitoba Derby Day and also just the success Assiniboia Downs has seen?
It's absolutely unbelievable the way everything has played out. COVID was definitely a time that we didn't know what direction we were going in. Our lifeblood was VLTs and spectators. Mm-hmm. That went by the wayside, but what we did was we positioned ourselves Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, which was absolutely huge, less competition compared to our usual Wednesday, Friday, Saturday type of race card. Mm-hmm. And coming into this Derby, everything has just been going up and up and up. And what a handle, $3.5 million.
Dude, that's huge.
Which is, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Really, in a nutshell, from where we were, which was pre-COVID, 300,000, 400,000 was a great day. Doing 3.5 million beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah. And it's got to be a good feeling because you've been at this track for a long time. So you've seen the highs, the lows, you've seen it all. And how does that make you feel pretty special?
Oh, it definitely does. I've been here over 35 years, and racing when I came in, it was the only game in town to gamble. You could go to the casino and play machines there, but outside of that, you went to the racetrack or casino. Now VLTs are everywhere, so the dollar is really stretched, the gambling dollar, that is. Mm-hmm. But we are making a big comeback, and we're impacting the world. Yeah. We're now on a world stage where nobody really watched us. We're the little tiny racetrack in Canada.
Yep.
And now, even a little story to tell, Robertino Diodoro, very familiar name in horse racing.
Yep.
He talked to us yesterday, and he just came back from Saratoga, and they talk about ASD in Saratoga, the premier meet going in North America, and people are excited, which blows me away how we weren't on the map, and now they know who we are.
And that's a good thing because, like you said, when people like Robert Diodoro, they come here, For people that aren't listening, might not know horse racing the most. He had, what was it, 1, 2, 3 horses yesterday in the Manitoba Derby?
3 horses in the Derby.
So to have his support moving forward is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. He's always been a supporter for us. That was his 4th win in the Manitoba Derby. And he's always brought horses here, and he loves being here. But he is a trainer that is all over North America. And right now, the biggest situation in horse racing is help. Grooms are at a premium and tough to come by. Yes, you can put a person there, but a person with experience, way different. And with the horses that he deals with, he spends big money on them, and you need a good pit crew, let's just say. And if you don't have that, you can't have a stable.
Now, Kirt, I want to go back a little bit because you've been kind of a hero of mine, if you will, throughout the years. But when I first came to Winnipeg, one of my favorite things to do was to go into that little green shack that you had, because you were the trackside guy then. You weren't the voice like you are now.
I was the paddock host.
You were the paddock host.
Handicapper.
So how did you get into that? Was because that just, were you like hanging around the track, or how did you get that gig?
Well, my progression was pretty well. There was nobody to do it. And they said, hey, how about we double your money and you go do this? And I was like, hey, I love money. Let's give it a try. At worst, go back to my old job. But, and then I was always the guy that had the big mouth at the back of the class. You put me in the front with the microphone, I'm a deer in the headlights. But once the money signs came in, I muscled my way through, and then now it's become old hat. So it was just a position opening, and I said, yeah, let's give it a go because of the money. And here I am today. This is my 12th year as track announcer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And time's flown by.
And I've been in front of the camera now for about 28 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So what was the first time you were a track announcer?
Yeah.
Did you have to practice a little bit, like watch some on TV and try to talk your way through those? Or how did you get ready for the first track announcer race?
Well, listening to a lot of races, like you said, just going through them, but you can listen and practice at home as much as you want. But when you grab that microphone, you're upstairs by yourself in isolation in a room, and it's just you now.
Yeah.
And the gates break. And when you're stumbling at home, you just do it again.
Yeah.
But with me, all my mistakes are on YouTube. And I got one of those jobs. But you know what? Back in the day, all the other track announcers, when they messed up, they'd go downstairs and retape it. So it sounds better.
Yeah.
I will never, ever do that.
Right.
I am not perfect. I aim to do the best job I can. The mistakes come with the job, and I wear all my mistakes and I try and learn from them. And if not, I say, oops. And you know what? Really, in the end, it boils down to what numbers run across the line, no matter what I actually say.
Right. Do you have a favorite horse's name that you've come across in a few years that you're like, one sticks out in your memory?
Yeah. One of them, Isla Dingadungarin.
Whose horse was that?
It was a lady, actually. It was a horse that only ran here a few times. But the first time I seen the spelling, there was so many consonants and not enough vowels.
Yeah.
I had no clue how to announce this horse. And then after the races, a lady came up to me and she goes, yeah, that's an old Viking name. It means my pet. Oh. And it's Isla Dingadungarin.
Oh, wow.
Is the way she said it.
Wow.
And it just slipped off her tongue. And I'm like, wow, that is not even close to the way I called this horse. I think it was Ingeldunga Dungeon. I think I called it. And, as you're calling it, trying to call it fast. So I think I called it 4 different things in the race. And then after she said that, it's stuck to this day.
Yeah.
and just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
But it's just things like that. Horse names aren't hooked on phonics.
Right.
People call them different things. They name them. And when I get to them, just because a track announcer at a different racetrack called it something, that doesn't mean that's the real name.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. And usually I get it a little bit later. The owner will come up and say, would you mind calling my horse this? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll call it anything you want, but I'm guessing here.
Yeah.
So, or I'm taking an old track announcer who said it and going from there.
And then we've also got some here at Assiniboia Downs, got some interesting jockey names.
Oh, yeah.
Jorge Carreño.
Jorge Carreño.
Carreño.
Yeah.
Who else is interesting? Neville Stevenson. That's kind of the first name's kind of
Yeah,
weird.
Ronaldo Cumberbatch. That's a
Ronaldo.
good one. Rafael Centino Jr.
Oh, wow.
Who came in and he was here riding for us the last 2 years. So
Do you ever, when you're announcing, do you ever have the urge to be like, after a jockey gets been, like say Sheldon Chickness, who is a jockey here.
Yeah.
You ever got the urge to be like, Sheldon, down with the sickness, Chickness with the W? Or is that unprofessional?
That's kind of unprofessional because if you do it for one, you have to do it for all.
Right.
And that kind of gives, I don't know, a little less to it.
Yeah.
For, say you're talking about Bobby Gordon or something like Bobby the Rocket Gordon. And it's like,
Yeah.
So they just like hearing their name.
Yeah.
Some guys do like a little bit in the middle, but I will only use it on a very special occasion.
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And going back to the jockey thing, another thing I want to cover from you that's very interesting and it was very, very good for you was you were an agent for jockeys.
Yes, I was. That one of my several jobs.
Yeah. So, and one of your jockeys was Antonio Whitehall.
Yes,
and when
it
you were
was.
his agent, he was very, very successful as a jockey.
Leading rider.
Tell us what it's like to be an agent for a jockey, because there's people listening to this podcast right now that are kind of coming into horse racing. They're learning about it for the first time, and they probably don't even know the jockeys have agents. So
Oh, no doubt about it.
Tell us how it's important, and tell us some of your little tactics that you would use.
Well, basically, when you are an agent for any jockey, you're their spokesperson and you're their scheduler, because you're the one walking around talking to the trainers, mostly, sometimes owners, but mostly trainers, getting them their morning workouts, space them out half an hour, go from this barn to this barn to that barn. You give them their schedule, and then you go around and try and get them on the best horse. Mm-hmm. So your mornings start at 6 o'clock in the morning till about 10:30, 11 o'clock, 7 days a week. There is no days off because every week is a new week of racing. Whatever you rode last week doesn't matter. So those horses will come back usually in 2 weeks. Sometimes you'll get fired off some, you'll get hired. You have to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
Because it's constant turning. You're going to get bouquets.
Yeah.
And you're going to get cow pies.
Yeah.
And you could walk into a barn. Say, for example, you rode for Jerry Gorno here at the Downs. Mm-hmm. He has 60 horses. So if you rode for him, you could have a horse in every race. You get fired by him. Now you're scrambling to ride anything.
Right.
And that has happened to me with Jerry. Very good friends with him.
Yeah.
And we joke around. As an agent, I got fired more than anybody else. It's just my rider that gets fired, but I get fired,
you
too.
Get fired too.
Yet I would never leave his barn. I'd still go down in there in the morning, grab a bottle of water out of the fridge, say good morning, and wait to be rehired back. And my jockeys won more races than anybody else, tenfold.
Yeah.
So
basically, don't burn the bridge.
Never burn the bridge. You might get thrown in the penalty box.
Yeah.
Might be 2 minutes, might be 10 minutes. But, as long as you keep trying, and that's all you got to do, you might get back in, which I always ended up getting back in.
Well, and the funny thing about it was, too, that you maintained a healthy enough relationship with Antonio Whitehall to be good friends with him, and still have that business type relationship. How did you manage that?
Well, the biggest thing with me is an open channel of communication. Mm-hmm. as long as you have that and you're on the same page, when you're going in to talk to trainers and you say things, you got to be the same, or else they're saying, well, he's lying, you're lying. You never want to get caught lying.
Yeah.
You might be telling a fib to get on there.
Right.
But at least if you both know, you can play that angle. And it's worked for me quite a few times. I told Antonio it was good cop, bad cop. You're the good cop, I'm the bad one.
Mm-hmm.
If we got two horses in a race, I think one's better than the other. Well, I got to tell one guy that we can't ride his horse.
Right.
So I say I can't ride it. He gets mad at me. I take the other horse, and then I send Antonio down to say, oh, my agent, what is he doing?
Yeah,
I really wanted to ride yours.
Yeah.
But we're on the other one. We win the race. And so then I go, can we have that one back now?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I told Antonio I would. So he's still mad at me, but not mad at Antonio. So that was a little trick I loved using. And that had a strike rate of about 70%. So it worked out well because Antonio was leading rider. And the same year I picked up Praven Badgery halfway through the year. And he was 15 wins behind Antonio. And they ended up tying for leading rider at the end.
That's a good year for Kirt.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I filled my pockets quite well, and it was great for my travels in the wintertime.
Praven's up here again, right?
Yeah, he is.
How's he been doing this year?
He's doing good.
Is he?
I think he's at 13 or 14 wins right now, and he's still one of the top riders here. He was racing in Alberta for a while, and through COVID, all these riders couldn't get out of the Caribbean. So anybody from Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, those are the main ones. They weren't able to get out. So for the last 2 years, you're a jockey. It's not like there's a lot of other jobs out there for you.
Yeah.
You know, the closest would probably be a paper boy
on
the bike instead of whipping your, throwing papers on people's doorsteps, but nobody reads the paper anymore. So those aren't really around anymore.
Exactly.
So now they're back riding. They're eager and they're doing really well.
The next question I want to talk about might be a little heartfelt to you, but I want to talk about your friend Darren Dunn. Darren Dunn's been, you guys have been lifelong friends, right?
Definitely have.
He has been, is it the general manager, his term here?
He's CEO.
CEO of Assiniboia Downs racetrack. And he's been kind of, like you talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. He's got comments and then he's got a lot of backlash. But he's done a terrific job steering this Assiniboia Downs racetrack through COVID, through everything. What do you have to say about your good friend Darren Dunn?
Well, he's a visionary, and I've pretty well followed in his footsteps. He was actually the one that brought me out to the racetrack for my first job.
No kidding.
And I took over for him.
Really?
As the photo runner, because we used to develop the photos. It wasn't digital, so they were actually developed, and I would have to run down and put them on every floor. And then if it was a claiming race, I'd have to stand by the paddock, and if there was a claim, they'd hand it to me, and I'd run it up to the stewards.
Oh.
So that was my first job, and I was out at the track a little bit before that, so I did have an inkling of what went on, but I got that job, and then pretty well every job that came up, I jumped on in and said, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
I ended up from there, I went to the clocker. So morning workouts, 6 a.m., 7 days a week, 6 to 10:30, watching that sun come up after having a few cocktails through the evening. Many times bloodshot eyes.
Yeah.
And back then, horse racing was huge. So I would have 130 horses work.
Holy cow. Yeah, that's a lot.
Right now, we average early on in the year about 60, 70. And right about now, we're at about 25 midway through the meet. But so it was a lot of days, and I was the timer. So I'd time the races pretty easy. Yeah. Press a button, let it go.
Yeah.
And then have a stopwatch beside it just in case the timer messed up so I can get the real time. And then they threw me into chart calling for harness racing.
Oh, really?
That was back in the day. We had harness racing, so we were year round. So then I was a chart caller. And then I progressed to going on TV from there. And that was a space of about 4 years. And someone didn't show up. And they said, hey, you want to go on TV and make some picks? We'll give you extra money.
Oh, wow.
And we got to tape it back then, which was great. Because if I messed up, we'll just redo it.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, there's no pre-taping.
Right.
You're live. Whatever happens, happens.
Right.
But I got all the years under my belt. I can adjust with anything now.
Yeah. Then because when you were trackside, Darren Dunn was actually the announcer guy.
Yeah, he was the announcer after Ken Miller.
Okay.
Ken Miller was the announcer, and then Darren took over for Ken, and then he needed a backup. So I got to call maybe 15 races, and then all of a sudden he threw me to the wolves and said, you're going to do it all night.
Yeah.
And I went, ooh, okay, let's give it a go.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. YouTube wasn't big back. Well, 10 years ago, YouTube was okay, but not as huge as it is now.
Right.
And you know what? I just love what I do. It's one of those things. I come to work every day and I just have a blast.
Well, it's funny to say that, but there's something to that. I mean, there's something to those people that have that office job where they go to the office job, they battle traffic every day, they battle traffic home, they're sitting in a room, they don't like the job they're doing. So I think you're not one of those rare cases, but a case that someone can look up to and be like, okay, it is possible. It is possible, and you can find a horse track. If you love horses, you can find your way there. You can do the things you want to do. You can become that person that you look in the mirror and think, where am I going to be 10 years down the road? And I think that's huge for a lot of people to hear, especially post-COVID, when you go through something like that where you see, oh shit, everything we do every day can be paused. It can be stopped.
No doubt about it.
So is there any advice you would give to someone that's maybe kind of in that position where they don't like their current gig and they're trying to become kind of like yourself, if you will?
Well, if they're going to be kind of like myself, first thing, have knowledge. Mm-hmm. You got to have knowledge, even if you're just a bettor and it was just your entertainment. At least you know how everything works. You got to know how it works first. Second, this microphone in front of you, you can't be scared of it.
Right.
So take every opportunity you can to grab that mic, MC events. Everybody wants someone to do it. Mm-hmm. There is a dollar value attached, but some people, they want top dollar to put this microphone in front of them. Other ones, they'll do it for free just because that's what they want to start doing. But tape yourself now. Now with all the technology around, you can throw your camera up and call a race, see how it goes. Start off, you see a small racetrack starting up, go on over.
Yeah.
Tell them, give me a shot. Let me call a race. All it takes is one race, and that's it. They like your sound. They like your enthusiasm, and the world's your oyster after that. Because once you're in, I'm a little too old to move around now.
Yeah.
I'm settled in, have kids. I'm content where I am.
Got a wife named Dawn.
Yeah. Not Shannon. And, when you're younger, everybody, like now Assiniboia Downs is on the map in horse racing. Mm-hmm. We never were.
Right.
We were on the map for Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and everybody else kind of laughed at us, that little track in the middle of the prairies. Now, they're all envious of us because most tracks are going down. Their attendance is down, their handle's down. Ours is all going through the roof. We're up 30% on this, 25%. Purses just got up 25%, where everybody else is cutting purses. So, you just got to stick with it, reach for the stars, and look for an opportunity, because you never know where it'll take you.
What's the next steps that you would like to see Assiniboia Downs take moving forward? Are we going to stick to the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday schedule, do you think?
100%.
Because that's been very beneficial. And do you think that is because other tracks are usually going Friday, Saturday, like we used to do, and then we switched here, so now people are looking for things to do kind of start of the week, middle of the week? Do you think that's a thing?
100%. We're positioned with less competition.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Less people or less racetracks to go against, more available money. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to bet.
Yeah.
Their accounts are full. It's so easy now to bet online. Click, 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 you're in. You flick on the TV, you're going to see, instead of us on a TV in the back room that's black and white, we're on the forefront on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the top 4 tracks running. And then it ends up us being the only one on there. So we're your last chance to get money in before you bet Australia or Korea or Japan until 3:00 in the morning, or Dubai or something like that. But North American track with all the PPs from Equibase and everything, so you're familiar with, it's a no-brainer. Because if we switch back to our old days, we'd bet a little more than we used to, but we'd be at 400,000 instead of $1 million.
Even this was my first time, because for everybody listening, the Manitoba Derby was yesterday. When this comes out, it'll be a few weeks down the road, but the Manitoba Derby used to be on Sundays. And then, right? And
Always.
Or Mondays too, I guess.
Or the holiday Monday, yeah.
And it used to be in the afternoon, and it was, I thought it was like, man, there's no way they can change that to Monday nights. But actually, after watching it on a Monday night, it was awesome. It was fun under the lights. Then you had 2 races after, which usually the Manitoba Derby was the last race.
Always.
But then you have 2 more races. If you're better, you got 2 more chances to go home with a little cash in your pocket. And I thought it was a genius move. I'm going to be honest with you. I had my hesitations about it. I'm like, I don't know. It's Derby. It's supposed to be during the day, but it was awesome. It was actually, I was proven wrong. I thought it was a really well thought out plan.
Well, between day and night, there is no difference. The horsemen don't like it as much because they're up at 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
So the later they go, they don't like that, but they like when we bet $1 million and we raise the purses 25%. That goes straight to the horsemen, straight in their pockets. So the trade-off for them, it's not a problem. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And now, bizarrely, I get some weekends off.
Yeah.
So
some time on the golf course.
Yeah. So I get off. I work 6 days a week, but on Saturday, I'm off by 2:00 and I don't have to be back till Monday morning.
Yeah.
So for me, that's eternity.
Yeah.
It was always my Friday, Saturday, Sundays were shot for 30 plus years. And now that we went to this schedule, I kind of like a Sunday off.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for people that are listening, they can just go on YouTube and just type in Assiniboia Downs, and it'll pop right up, and it'll just be live racing.
Yeah, asdowns.com is our website. And free programs, free expert selections, free online video. But a great thing to do if you're in Canada, that is, it's all over. But Canada, HPI Bet has a really good promotion where if you're a first timer with it, you put in $100, and in 30 days, you have to make $100 worth of bets.
Oh, really?
If you win money, that's great. You get what's in there. Say you lose it all. At the end of that 30 days, they'll put $100 back in your account.
Oh, wow.
So for you to get your feet wet in horse racing, it's not going to cost you a dime, and you're going to be able to have a lot of fun with $100.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And Twin Spires in the U.S. and a lot of the U.S. ones have the same kind of deal. So definitely take advantage of that because it's a free bet.
Yeah.
And some of them, it's up to $500.
Right.
You just got to read the fine print. But I know in Canada, HPI Bet, $100, wager within 30 days, that 100, win or lose, they're throwing 100 in your account.
Well, talking about bets, I know a lot of things, like you just said, especially in the United States, is on your cell phone because you're on it all the time. Now, when you go to, because in the off season of the Assiniboia Downs, you travel around and try to get people to come up to Winnipeg, right? That's kind of what you a couple guys do.
Yep.
When you travel to those places, like you go to Turf Paradise, which is in Phoenix, what other spots do you usually go to?
We ended up going to Nebraska. We also go to Edmonton, Century Mile. Those are the main ones that are feeders into our program that we'll get horses from. So that's kind of what we want to focus on. But if we get feelers from somewhere else that 2 or 3 people, 4 people are interested, then myself and Derek Corbell, we hop on a plane and go and check things out for ourselves. And usually it's nice because it's in the winter and it's in the warm places, which I really enjoy.
Because Winnipeg, where we're at right now, is nice during the summer. Gets a little chilly in the evenings, but during the winter, like you just said, you get to time to head out.
Yeah.
Because it gets pretty cold.
And also for horses coming from down south, we start in later May. So their racetracks are done and then they can bring their horses up and it's a brand new season for them. And the big thing is the horses are race fit. They're in real good shape compared to the ones that we have that are just getting into shape from hanging out in the fields, in the snow, ice, everything else. They look like a woolly mammoth with all the hair on them. And these other ones are all nice and dappled up and looking absolutely dynamite. So they definitely have a huge advantage early.
A question I like to ask all my guests, whether it's a guy who plays in the NFL, coaches football, is a yoga instructor, I like to ask them some of their favorite things. So do you have a favorite, say just a favorite top 5 of horses that you can think of that you've called races or you've talked about? Obviously, Escape Clause has to be in there.
Oh, without a doubt.
Escape Clause, for everybody listening, was a horse from Manitoba bred that was kind of like a superstar of horses, if you will.
Definitely was. Over $1 million in earnings. Almost won the Apple Blossom against one of the best horses. Well, was the best horse in North America. Lost by a lip at the wire.
Yeah.
And that was special. Another horse, Black Cash, was a horse that only ran 3 times, was undefeated. And unfortunately, its bandage came unraveled and ended its racing career.
No kidding. Really?
From way back in the day, a horse named Centripetal was a 6 furlong sprinter, would just rattle down there in sick fast times. One More Lady, loved her. And a little horse by the name of Going to Maui.
Ooh, shout out Dan and Deb Hansen.
Yeah. Because Going to Maui, when I was a clocker, they worked at 6 furlongs one day in 1:10 and change, which was the fastest workout I had ever seen clocking. And I probably saw 10,000 horses on the track. It was that impressive.
Really?
So definitely Maui is one of my favorites also.
Well, that story is wild because my parents got him when the previous owners thought he was like kind of on the tail end of his career. And my parents just kind of, they had this thing called, I can't remember what it was, a modulator or something, but it was like a hot tub that they carried around, and it was like a big tub, and they'd set it in front of his legs and put his legs in there, and he would just love that. And it kind of like helped rejuvenate his old legs, and then he just went on to do more and more great things.
Well, yeah, definitely won a lot of races here at Assiniboia Downs. And again, a sprinter that loved going fast, catch me if you can.
Yeah.
And I really like horses that play that game.
What about that horse, Primetime TV? Do you remember that horse?
Yeah, that was Burt Blake, won the Derby. That was an unusual Derby when in front of the grandstand, Primetime TV, Darren called the race and said the horse was pulling up.
Really?
Went right back to dead last. And then all of a sudden, Travis Hightower, around the turn with about 5 furlongs left, said, okay, let's go. And went from last to first in 2 furlongs. And then won by many, and it was the most bizarre Derby ever.
What was that? Because the track was a little bit slower, do you think, or why do you think that was? Just the horse had a lot of heart.
Travis Hightower wanted to do it, and
he was one of the best jockeys, dude.
He had a really good clock in his head, and it's amazing when people think about, they watch horse racing and they go, "Oh, that jockey did a stupid thing," and he was 2 lengths behind the horse. In horse racing, 1 second is 5 lengths. So 2 lengths behind is 2/5 of a second to go from your brain to whatever you're going to do with this horse. And it's milliseconds where you got to make these moves. You don't make the move, you second guess yourself, and all of a sudden you're trapped. I always put it towards NASCAR. Mm-hmm. You got to be milliseconds, every move you make. And it just seems when they put it in slow-mo, oh, he could have done this. but it's not that way.
It's not that easy either.
It's not that easy at all. I respect these jockeys that get on these horses going 35 miles an hour. There's no padding. They got a little flak jacket on, which is nothing.
Right.
It helps that a horse's hoof doesn't go right through the rib cage, but it doesn't help the impact of the horse if they do get hit. They're wearing everything really thin, skin tight, nothing.
Right.
And these guys are on a 1,200 pound animal that says, I want to go right. They're 110 pounds.
Yeah.
Guess where the horse is going?
Right.
No matter what they do. So I really respect these little guys for what they do out on that racetrack.
Well, it takes a lot of heart, but like you just said, brain. But like when you say clock, for people that aren't too familiar with horse racing, that's like a timing for a quarterback on a football field. You got to just like kind of time things right. You got to know, okay, maybe we're going a little too fast. I need to tailor it back here. Or maybe we're going a little too slow. I can take over the lead, right?
That's exactly it. It's kind of like the 1,600 meters in the Olympics. They always throw that jackrabbit guy out there that runs really fast. And what the rest of the guys do behind him is pace themselves, but they want to make sure the time is good because they judge by that guy in front. And that's where jockeys, some of them can look at that guy and say, hey, he's going a little too slow. I should start moving now.
Yeah.
Compared to, oh, no, that's where I always am.
Yeah.
So they can read into it. And that's the top echelon. You'll see them win races just by doing those kind of moves.
Do you have a jockey here that you think Assiniboia Downs has had that really sticks out in your mind, past or present? Jacques Desautels, is that one that comes up?
Yeah, Jacques was a good rider, but Todd Cable.
Todd Cable
was, he was the full package. And the most elite rider that was ever here, and we caught him on the tail end, was Alan Cuthbertson.
Really?
Amazing clock.
No kidding.
He was a master. He could have went and rode anywhere in North America, and as long as he had the horsepower, you weren't beating him. He was that talented. And remember, we did have Gary Bays here, Vicky Bays, and their talent, unbelievable. But that Alan Cuthbertson, he did things that I've never seen before, and I'll probably never see again, at least live at Assiniboia Downs. But he was the best.
Well, we were talking about Primetime TV. Wasn't he the one that was riding Primetime TV?
No, that was Travis Hightower.
Oh, Travis Hightower. Yeah, you said that. Whoops, my bad.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, but Alan would just do things with horses that nobody else could do.
And that if you were to put together, like everybody talks about, especially with the NFL, they talk about like with putting together the perfect quarterback. What does it take to be the perfect jockey?
Wow. Well, you need big kahunas to start with because we get a lot of jockeys that are at the tail end of their careers, not the tail end, but coming towards the end of them, and they've had injuries. So, for example, Jorge Craniel, love the guy, but you'll never see him come up the inside down the lane.
Right.
Unless it's one of the big races, probably, maybe, but you're always going to see him swoop to the outside because his clock is good. So your clock is the biggest thing for a jock. You got to have kahunas to come up the inside and not be scared of timing it.
Yeah.
Because again, you're waiting for a hole to open. And when it does, you make that decision. You got to go now. You can't guess. Second guessing, you get yourself hurt.
Yep.
So the guys go straight through there and just a willingness to work.
Right.
At least when you're young.
Yes.
Because that's where you learn everything in the morning, and never say you know it all. Because in horse racing, I've been around 38 years. I say I know 60%.
Really?
60% of everything. I know how everything works.
Right.
But I know 60%. So I don't know everything, but I can make a call and have the answer to anything within less than a minute.
Right.
Which is a bonus.
Yeah.
Don't have to look it up. Oh, I know who to call. and I can get it easy. But there's so many different facets to horse racing.
Yeah.
To know them all is just crazy.
It's almost impossible.
Oh, it is impossible.
One of the questions I always get that probably you get as well, especially being the track announcer, but when people come to the race the first time and they open a program, they say, what do I look at? So what's the first thing when you open up a program, what's the first thing that Kirt looks at?
The date.
The dates. Okay.
The only reason I look at the date is because I've picked up the program from the day before sometimes, or they gave me the program from the next day. And I'm going, oh my God, I love this horse. Why is he going off at 30-1? So I bet a bunch of money. And then I look, I'm going, well, he's supposed to go to the lead. Why is he dead last by so many?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, wait a minute here. Something doesn't jive.
Right.
It's the wrong day. So that's the first thing I look at, because I only got to get burnt once. and then I learn off of that.
Yeah.
But pretty well what I want to look at in a program, if you're new coming out, go by names. Mm-hmm. I can give you all the information you need, but it doesn't mean I can give you the winner also. Mm-hmm. A good story, my mom came out for Mother's Day. She used to come out every year, buy her dinner, give her $50 to bet. And I was the handicapper. Mm-hmm. That day we had 8 races. I picked 2 winners. My mother, 6 winners.
What? Just luck.
It all comes down to numbers.
Yep.
So, over the long run, you need to know the information. Mm-hmm. Short term, pick some names, pick your house number.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
Yeah.
Don't get too much into it. Don't make it like work.
Right.
Unless you're going to try and make serious money from it. Then homework, replays. There's lots.
Before you go on TV, you probably sit down and look through all the horses, or do you have like kind of a system of your own that so-and-so horse? So when you go on a pregame show, like Assiniboia Downs pre-live or whatever it's called, already? Or what, do you have a system for that?
Oh, I've been looking at, the good thing about it for me here is I've seen all the races. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I need a little refresher. I'll click on the replay and watch. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about this horse, and get the refresher that way. But as we are right now, it's about 11:15. I've already looked at today's card once. I've looked at it twice more before, and we actually put the card together on last Friday. Mm. So I'll look at it one more time this afternoon, then I'll make my final picks for everybody, put my wagers in there, and then I'm ready for race time.
All right, to close, what's in the future for Kirt? What would you like to see yourself here moving forward?
Moving forward, I actually really like my position that I'm in. I'm in 3 key positions here at Assiniboia Downs. I love the winter traveling. And maybe if I was throwing this by the wayside, I'd like to get a big syndicate together to have maybe 20 horses, 30 horses at a racetrack. Yeah. And because I know condition books and where to place them really well, I think have a whole lot of fun in the sun. So that's the key.
You might want to move south.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind going to Florida or hanging out in Phoenix or even Texas or California. For the winter, of course. I love summers here in Winnipeg, but those winters can be real cold there, Dallas.
I know. I'm with you. How this works is I'm going to ask you 10 questions. Okay. You have to answer them as quick as possible. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just kind of so people get to know Kirt a little bit more. Okay. And away we go. Hot dogs or hamburgers?
Hamburgers.
Palm trees or evergreen trees?
Palm trees.
Ocean or lake?
Ocean.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Burger King or McDonald's?
McDonald's.
Soup or spaghetti?
Soup.
Rodeo or racing?
Racing.
Favorite athlete of all time?
Ooh, MJ.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Nice. What is the city in Texas where the NFL team nicknamed the Cowboys play in?
Dallas.
Yeah. What city in Texas, when spelled backwards, reads salad?
So, Dallas.
Who is your favorite podcaster and best friend?
Dallas. Love it, buddy.
Dude, you're one of my favorite human beings, and I can't wait to hear this answer. But I started this podcast, Swim Lessons, to kind of get people through the tough times. It's like swimming, just learn how to keep going. What is something that you'd like to leave the people with today that will listen to this that might help them get through their life, or saying that you looked up to in the morning to kind of get Kirt back to this positive mindset, or just something you've heard one day that you thought was really cool to live your life by?
If you don't mind, it don't matter. Mm-hmm. Mind over matter.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things people want to throw their opinion on there and hate. Don't hate. Just try. And once you try, you might actually like it. If you don't, you can always walk away. Mind over matter. Don't mind, don't matter.
Dude, that's awesome, Kirt.
Okay, buddy.
Well, thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everything.
Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate everything you've done for Assiniboia Downs. This is my favorite place in the world. I love this place, and I wish nothing but the best. And let's just plug Assiniboia Downs really quick. Where can everybody find you if they want to watch races Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays every week, right?
asdowns.com, 7:30 post time, but tune in early, 6:45 Central Time, ASD Live, myself and Stretch. We walk you through the races, tell you stuff that you can't read in the book, but you still, even though we give picks, you still got to make your own decisions and maybe throw some lucky numbers in a hat. Doesn't matter how you get there.
Yeah.
Try and win one of those big pots, and we'll be cheering for you.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, everybody. Thanks for listening. Kirt, appreciate you. Love you, buddy.
Okay, love you too, bud.